I analysed the run up to and during that horrible meeting in the Oval Office a couple of weeks ago between Zelensky, JD Vance, and Donald Trump, and I've been trying to work out the rationale behind it. And the only thing I can think is that there is a personal beef between Donald Trump and Zelensky, and Trump wanted to embarrass him publicly because of that, and that goes right back to the beginning of the war. It goes back to Trump with Biden and the accusations of Hunter Biden and the evidence that was then gathered to impeach Trump and everything else. So I think Donald Trump has got this personal narcissistic um, uh, problem with Zelensky, and that's why we're hearing him saying you need to have elections, you need to move aside, you need everything is focused on him personally. This is where in Saudi Arabia, I think the Ukrainians were very smart. Yes, Zelensky was in Saudi Arabia, but he let his team negotiate with Marcus Rubio. So he's taking himself from a personal perspective away from it. Putin will try and stir that again. He'll do as much as he possibly can to stir that again, and to stir that in as many different nations around the place as he possibly can. Putin's got a lot of good levers, and he's a past master at doing this. He's him with Lavrov, his foreign minister, are probably the best manipulators in the world, closely followed by Xi Jinping, who does it much more quietly. Donald Trump defies logic and he is unpredictable. And that's what global leaders dislike intensely. Geopolitics does not like unpredictability. Putin is predictable. Trump is not predictable in any way, shape, or form. So there may be plans in the White House. There may be options in the White House that were agreed and discussed yesterday or the day before. But when Donald Trump wakes up, whatever goes through his head at that time is what he's going to say publicly and what the Americans are going to do. He's still in his first 100 days of his administration. He's got a very new and relatively politically naive top team, and they won't want to do anything to undermine Donald Trump in that position. But it's not a strong team. Putin knows that, so Putin will play for time and will cause as much disruption as he possibly can. We'll find out when Donald Trump puts his slippers on, goes and gets his cup of coffee. I presume he doesn't drink tea first thing in the morning as he gets out of bed and sends his first tweet out. He thinks he's got Donald Trump on his side. And the other thing that Putin will do is, if he can delay it, he will use that time to try and create additional fissures between the United States and Ukraine, the United States and the EU, UK and the EU, UK and the US. He will do everything he can from his geopolitical maneuvering to try and cause more difficulties, and then difficulties inside the United States itself, and then potentially even stimulate other mini conflicts popping up in different parts of the world to try and take people's focus away from him and away from Ukraine. So the longer that he can buy, the better. Because Putin, I think, is concerned if Donald Trump does to him what he did to Zelensky and comes in with very hard sanctions, which would destroy the Russian economy. If those sanctions came in on top of what's there already, but took proactive effort against the shadow fleet of tankers that are still keeping the oil trade moving for Russia and still allowing Russia to finance its illegal full-scale war into Ukraine. So Putin, I think, is worried. I think at the moment, the most difficult thing that there is with trying to analyze what's going on is the unpredictability of Donald Trump. It's very rare that you get a global leader who is making lots of different noises as he runs up to different things, but seems to change his mind and change his tack. He's either exceptionally clever in what he's doing, tempered with a degree of ego and narcissism in his approach to Zelensky, or he's being lucky so far in the way that he and his team are randomly pushing things. I think the reality is probably somewhere in between. We are in for a very interesting ride.